Hello, and welcome back to the Striha Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Parker Striha, and on today's episode, we are going to be making my predictions for the 2021-2022 NBA Season Awards. I'm by no means a professional, but I do love talking about sports, so thank you for joining me. So we're gonna waste no time getting into this. We're gonna jump right into my pick for MVP, and that is Joel Embiid, a center for the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I think the MVP is a three-horse race. It's most likely between Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic, but I am giving my pick to, if I had a vote, I'm giving it to Joel Embiid. I mean, through the trade deadline, he really was all that the 76ers had. Ben Simmons wasn't playing for a plethora of reasons, and the guy who would have been his second best player over that stretch in Tobias Harris really wasn't playing that great, was not playing to the level of his contract that they gave him. So I think Joel Embiid this year is probably, I think he is my MVP. I think he has been dominating the league all year, like from the very first game. And now that he has James Harden, he has a guy he can rely on, and he can still go out there and he can give you 40 points a night and 20 rebounds. But for the season, he is averaging, as of right now, 30.2 points, 11.6 rebounds, 4.2 assists, 1.5 blocks, 1.1 steals, 49.3 field goal percentage, 36.8 three-point percentage, and an 81.7 free throw percentage. So those are easily MVP caliber numbers. I think those numbers would win MVP pretty much any year you look at it. But the Sixers are currently 48-30, which is the fourth seed in the East, but they are only 2.5 games back from the number one seed. Those first four seeds in the East are extremely competitive and extremely close. And with only a couple games left in the season, you could see the Sixers jump up to the number one seed, but I think they're going to stay at that 2 to 4 range. But I think, although you can make the argument that the MVP award should go to the best player on the best team, and that would probably be Devin Booker, I don't think he should be an MVP caliber. He's not an MVP caliber player this year. He's good, but I think he's less valuable to his team than Joel Embiid is to the 76ers, if that makes sense. Embiid has been the Sixers this year. He has willed them to where they're at right now, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. My pick for the Defensive Player of the Year is Giannis Antetokounmpo, a power forward for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now this season, Giannis is averaging 30.1 points, 11.6 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 1.4 blocks, 1.1 steals, a 55.4 field goal percentage, 29.6 three-point percentage, and a 71.8 free throw percentage. So you just compare his numbers to Joel Embiid's, you can easily make the case for him to be MVP. But like I said, I'm giving my pick to Joel Embiid. But Giannis, for Defensive Player of the Year, there are a lot of great defensive players in the league, but not as many of them have the defensive impact that Giannis has. I mean, he's 6'11", 250, and he moves like a point guard. He doesn't exactly have the handles for it, but he is extremely athletic at that size, and he can guard any single position on the court at all times. You'd obviously like to keep him on those small forward, power forward, center guys, but I think he can handle those point guards, shooting guards anywhere on the court. And I mean, he is, well, obviously I'm giving him my vote, so he, in my eyes, is the best defensive player in the league. But I don't think there's a night where he isn't arguably the best defensive player on the court. And for the Bucks, who are 48-30, which is the third seed in the East right now, Giannis has been a key part of that on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I mean, you can't really go to the rim against Giannis. Just ask Joel Embiid, who a couple days before I recorded this, actually got blocked at the rim by Giannis, but we're not going to talk about that. So yeah, my pick for Defensive Player of the Year is Giannis. My pick for Rookie of the Year is Evan Mobley, a center for the Cleveland Cavaliers. This year, Mobley is averaging 14.9 points, 8.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.6 blocks, 0.8 steals, is shooting 50.6% from field goal, 25.3 3-point percentage, and a 66.4 free throw percentage. So those last two percentages aren't great, but for a guy that is 6'11", I mean, you can't make that excuse, I guess, for a guy being tall and not being able to shoot, because Kevin Durant is 6'10", roughly, and he's one of the best shooters ever. But Mobley has been one of the best players on the Cavs' entire team this year. He's a reason that they are even in the are considered a playoff team this year. They are currently the 7th seed, which means they will be in the play-in tournament unless something changes, with a record of 43-36. But Mobley is a huge part and a huge reason why they are even competing this year. He instantly came out and he has been, he was an instant starter for them from day one, and he's been producing every single night and every game he's played. He's not averaging crazy numbers like a lot of these other guys are. Like Cade Cunningham, I'm sure, is averaging more points, Scotty Barnes, but Evan Mobley is on a competing team and he's putting up numbers. And he is not that big for a power forward / center. He is 6'11", which is tall, but he's only 215 pounds. So if you put him in the paint against a guy like, say, Joel Embiid, who I have as my MVP, who is 7 foot tall, 250, 260 pounds, Evan Mobley looks tiny just because he is so skinny for that frame. And I personally think it's harder to come into the league as a big man and produce right away. I know there are exceptions to that rule, but I think it's easier for guards to come in. Because, if you're a guard, you can jack up shots from anywhere on the court and you can average 20 points a game on decent shooting numbers. But as a big man, you're most likely going to be taking a lot of your shots at the rim. And as a big man in today's league, you're going against Nikola Jokic, Rudy Gobert, Kristaps Porzingis, Giannis, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid. And as a guy who's 6'11", 215, going against all of those guys who are massive human beings in height and weight, I think it's more difficult for a guy like Evan Mobley to come in and produce. My 6th man of the year is Tyler Hero, a point guard for the Miami Heat. And Hero is having a career year this year. He is averaging, all of the stats that I'm about to say are career highs except for his free throw percentage, but he is averaging 20.6 points, 5 rebounds, 3.9 assists, shooting 44.3% from the field, 39.3% from the three-point line, and 86.2% from the free throw line. So really impressive stats for a 6th man, and at times he has been the Heat's best player. He has been the one guy that I think has been extremely consistent for the Heat all year. And when guys like Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler aren't producing, they know Tyler Hero is going to. And he has single-handedly won them some games this year. And for 6th man of the year, I don't really think it's close. The argument can be made for certain players like Jordan Clarkson, but I think Tyler Hero is running away with it. And unless something absolutely wild happens, I think he's far and away the best 6th man this year. And he is the 6th man on the best team in the East. The Heat sit with a 51-28 record, which is first place in the Eastern Conference right now, and Tyler Hero is a massive part of that. My pick for most improved player is Ja Morant, a point guard from the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, Ja Morant is also having a career year. He is averaging 27.6 points, which is up from 19.1 last year, 5.7 rebounds, which is up from 4, a career low 6.7 assists, 0.4 blocks, which is up from 0.2, 1.2 steals, which is up from 0.9, a 49.3 field goal percentage, which is up from 44.9, a 34% three-point percentage, which is up from 30.3%, and a 76.2 free throw percentage, which is up from 72.8. So all of those, except for assists and free throw percentage, are career highs. And he is definitely, I think, like Sixth Man of the Year, I think this is Ja Morant's award to lose. You look at his numbers now and just look at the Grizzlies' records from the last 2 years. The Grizzlies are currently 55-23, which is the second seed in the West. And although they are 7 games back from the first seed in the Western Conference, which is just absolutely ridiculous to have that good of a record and be that far away from the 1 seed. But when you look at the record this year and their record last year was 38-34, which was good enough to be the 8th seed, but there's still games left in the year, and they have far exceeded their amount of wins from last year, and Ja Morant is a huge part of that. He came out this year and has been one of the best point guards in the entire league, if not the best, depending on who you ask and how you value certain players. But I think Ja Morant, he went up in his stats in everything except assists, which is, it's most improved. So he's clearly improved the most, in my opinion. There's not a lot of guys that go from averaging sub 20 points in a season to averaging almost 28, almost 30. So I think this is kind of Ja Morant's award to lose, unless, like I said, unless something crazy happens, but I don't see that occurring. And lastly, my pick for Coach of the Year is Monty Williams from the Phoenix Suns. Now, the Suns sit with a 62-16 record, which is first place in the Western Conference and is the best record in the entire league. And I think Coach of the Year should go to the coach of the best team, and that's clearly Monty Williams and the Phoenix Suns. Really nothing to talk about for that one. It's been a really surprising year for them, in my opinion. No one really expected them to make it to the finals last year, and then they come out this year and are the best team in the league and are probably the favorite to win the NBA Finals this year, other than maybe the Sixers, maybe the Heat. But I think it's the Suns' year to lose it or win it, and I think that's I think a lot of that is due to Monty Williams. But yeah, Phoenix Suns, best record in the league. Monty Williams is my Coach of the Year. And as always, I'm your host, Parker Striha, and this has been the Striha Sports Podcast. Our random sport fact of the day is that former NBA player Manute Bol has more career blocks than he does points. He finished his career with 2,086 blocks and only 1,599 points. As always, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for whenever a new video gets posted.